Okay.
He's in, Andrew.
There we are. Good afternoon, Judge Rendzio, Andrew Morgan. We are here for interviews with respect to Judge Christensen's circuit court spot from which she is retiring. And so I would like to give you an opportunity. I think there are new members since you came through the JNC. Introduce yourself and explain why you would like to remain a circuit court judge. And I know the question of the election is going to come up. So if you could take a few minutes and walk us through that.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for interviewing me, and I want to thank any observers who are here. I know this is an important process. I appreciate the process that you all have to go through and the preparation you have to go through. I know you have jobs, families, and I appreciate the fact that you've taken time from your families and your jobs to do this. So thank you for that. Obviously, you know, I understand the circumstances that I'm in. I'm a unified family court judge, but out of respect to your time and the time of the viewers, I'm prepared to just get right into questions. I'm sure there's election questions, but I want to give you all ample time to ask me questions so that I can make sure to answer everything I can for you.
Judge Rendzio, if I may ask, you know, you've been on the bench now for a couple years. What did you run across that you didn't expect that you think now makes you a better candidate to be on the circuit bench than when you came through the first time? Yeah,
I would say the difference I have now is I'm not starting from scratch. I'm starting from experience. I've got experience as a judge. Obviously, I've got experience in the campaign process, so I've done that. The other aspect I would say is, you know, I love the analytical side of what I do, but I think there's an emotional side as well to being a judge, especially, you know, with the Unified Family Court and quite frankly, any aspect of the judicial process we have. And I think I've become more accustomed to that. I've told everybody who's asked, you know, the defining moments I've had a couple defining moments in court where they're very emotional times when people come before you and you understand, you know, these are people's lives and, you know, they're putting their lives and faith in front of you, and it's important that you give them due process, ample time. I've always strived to have a good judicial demeanor and give everyone, you know, as much say as possible so I can try to come to the best result I can come through. But that's essentially the process. I mean, I think, quite frankly, the best way I can describe it is I'm not starting from scratch. I'm starting from experience. I've had 2 years, you know, to get right into the election issue. I don't think it defines the job I've done as a judge. It is what it is. I'm not going to make any excuses to you or to any of the observers. It is what it is. I lost the election, but I don't think it defines what I've done as a judge and what I've strived to do. And the fact that I am truly a public servant, and I understand that, and I've treated my bench that way, and I've always tried to give everyone the utmost respect and the best say that they can have and render timely rulings and do what I can. It's just a matter of reaching a lot of people. And unfortunately, I don't think I reached enough people.
Judge, it's Chris Green. Good afternoon. Can you tell us what you learned from the election process, and in particular, what you would do different the next time around?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, first of all, if I were permitted to remain as a judge, the very first thing I would do is reach out to the chief judge and ask to be assigned to a different county. I love St. Johns County. It's where I live, but I think it's extremely important to reach a lot of people. And unfortunately, you know, again, the people that don't see you day to day and see what you do day to day, they don't know how you are as a judge, and they may not even know who you are. And it's important to get out there. I would we're in a different time now with Zoom, obviously. I would strive to do everything I can by Zoom just to reach more people and get out. And quite frankly, work even harder in, Volusia and some of the lower counties to just try to get my name out there a little more so people know who I am. And I think it starts by potentially moving to it, or not moving physically, but being assigned to a different county. And then obviously from the campaigning side as well. I mean, I think from the very minute I lost, once the shock wears off, the first thing you're thinking is, okay, I could have done this, I should have done this. And you go through the scenarios of what you can do differently from a marketing or strategy standpoint. And obviously I've thought about that if the opportunity ever arose again. So I'm prepared from the campaigning side to reach more people, and you do it a little differently on how I allocate, the resources.
Judge, I see that you've applied for the 5th DCA as well. What is the status of that?
The interviews for those are next week.
Judge Rendzio, this is Travis Maddock. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir, I can.
You've obviously been on the family bench for about the last 2 years, but your experience primarily was in the civil construction realm.
Yes, sir.
If you were given the opportunity to go back on the bench, where do you think the citizens would be best served with you on the bench, in the civil, family, or criminal division?
I think Judge Christensen's seat is it's a civil and a probate, so I'd be glad to take that. I think I've got the civil experience to handle that. And I think I'm coming out of the gates. But even with unified family, I love what I do, and I love being a judge, and I hope it shows, and I hope it shows to the people that come before me. And again, I would, quite frankly, I think I would be suited for whichever seat they put me in. If I need to learn it, I've learned unified family over the last 2 years. If it's civil, obviously, I think I would have an advantage through my background. I think that would serve the citizens. But, I like to think of the fact that I know I'm a hard worker, so I come into everything and strive to learn and make sure I'm understanding before I go before people. I read everything to make sure I'm prepared. I render timely decisions. So I think wherever they put me, I would be equipped.
What do you think is the biggest challenge for a judge presiding over a docket in Putnam County?
I don't know that there's any more of a challenge in Putnam County than there would be in any other county. It's the same, to me, it's the same philosophy, prepare, understand the people that come before you. And quite frankly, that's one of the areas where I think I do have an advantage, because just through some of the charitable work I've been doing, my work has been in Putnam County, working with, Epic Cure down there on the food drives. I was there last Friday. And I mean, I think it's important to really be a public servant and practice what you preach and get out there and become a part of the community. And I think that would be the only challenge, I think, is relating to the people in the community and understanding that, these are the people that come before you. Have some deference. You're going to get pro se people, perhaps some more pro se folks than you would in St. John's, but I get a lot of pro se individuals now, and it's just treating everyone with respect. And I think if you start with that core and you prepare and you go in every day with that mindset, it doesn't matter where you are.
Judge, what were you doing last Friday? You mentioned you were doing some sort of charitable work.
They do a food drive, and they do it in every county. I just earlier this year, I started doing it in Putnam because it happens to be on Fridays, and those are Friday afternoons are the only times that I don't have court. And I know if all my orders are done and they're out, it gives me an opportunity to get out there and help out. So I'll go out there when I can for, a few hours and just try to get out there and, just help. And it's something I've been striving to do more of anyways, because it's something I want my kids to see and I want them to get more involved with. So we've done that. And the one I've chosen, again, it happens to be in Putnam because it's the one I can do on Friday afternoons. Once I make sure I've satisfied my commitments to the individuals who've come before me.
Could you tell us a little bit about your involvement with St. Joel and the Kids Safe Zone?
Yeah, we did. I started with St. Joe last year. We did the Kids Safe Zone where we went out, met with them and taught them a little bit about the judicial process. And then it really morphed into something even better, which was a mock trial. So, through Colby Keefe, we set up a mock trial. And again, one of the things I said when I took this job and when I had my investiture and I met was, my courtroom belongs to everybody. And I have the privilege of sitting in there, but I know it belongs to everybody. And I've always had an open door policy where I've said, come on in and let's get the community involved. I don't think the community knows enough about what the judiciary does. And, and even the other folks in the courthouse, bailiffs, clerks. So we set up a mock trial and it was fascinating. We had a mock trial. We had the elementary students, some of them, took turns being judges. Some of them were bailiffs. Might hire, a couple of them as bailiffs. They were pretty good. But it was a fascinating process and it was great to see. And, we were making strides with it. And I mean, unfortunately with COVID, it stopped a little bit, just because we couldn't have people in the courtroom, but there was another one we were setting up in DeLand. I was going to partner with Judge Foxman to do that, which I'm sure will still go forward down the road, but it's just been a great process. So they can see how the system works and they can see all the opportunities that they have, to do whatever they want through the system.
Judge, I know you aren't here to make excuses about the election, but do tell me what you think the impact of COVID was on your election and maybe anyone else like you, because it certainly is unprecedented.
It made it challenging again, and I don't want to give you all excuses or any of the observers excuses. I don't, I fully accept the loss. It was a hard loss. And again, not because of the result, just because I love what I do. I mean, I hope it comes out every day, but COVID was a reality. I mean, I actually contracted COVID and I worked through COVID. So for a certain period of time, I was actually doing a presentation for a group of students called for Catalyst out of Volusia, and it was by Zoom. And that's the day, I wasn't feeling great and I took my test and I, stayed back. I was on Zoom and I did that. And I found out after I taught that course that I actually had it. So I was quarantined and I worked from home and worked through COVID. And it's been challenging, obviously, from the election standpoint, just because it's hard to get out and reach people. We have a large area of folks that we have to meet. And, going forward, now that I know the reality of COVID and it may be here a little longer, hitting Zoom as hard as we can and trying to just reach people, but it does make it harder. You can't have face-to-face meetings with people. You can't get out. You lose some key events where you can meet people. And, again, it's on me. It is what it is, but that's, I don't want to be an excuse, but that COVID, I think everyone has been affected somehow. And that's how, I would say that's how it's affected me.
Anyone else have any questions? Let me ask you, now that you've been on the bench for a little bit and you have that perspective, what judge do you want to emulate the most? Because I've asked that of people, but you have this weird, you've got both sides of it now. So, and has that changed since you've been on the bench?
I don't think so. We've got a really good judiciary. I think we've got a good mix of judges. They've all got their own personalities. If I had to pick a judge that I would probably seek to emulate on the current bench locally, my mentor, Midge Hudson, I think she's got a great judicial temperament. She is, she does her job. She gets things out, and just quite frankly, any judge who understands what it was like to be a trial attorney. So a lot of the judges have great personalities. I love them. They're still dear friends of mine. But I would say any judge who understands what it's like to be a trial attorney, who understands, listen, I've got to respond to a client. I'm accountable to a client. I want a ruling that's timely, that, to the extent it can explain what happened. I want it to explain it, whether I win or lose. I want it to explain it so I can explain it to my client. And understanding that and remembering what it was like to be a trial attorney, that's the prototypical judge of who I want. And I don't think it's changed my perspective. When I took the bench, I understood that. And quite frankly, I think when I first started the process, I said that was one of the reasons I wanted to be a judge, because, we have great judges, but I think we needed some more attorneys with civil experience and attorneys who understand that and remember that, because again, every one of you who practices, you're accountable to someone else, and there's nothing more frustrating than sitting back, not getting rulings, waiting, or you have someone who's in a bad mood every day. And I didn't like that, and I think everyone's had that experience. And I just want to emulate whoever it is that says, I love what I do and I love this job. I love going to work every day. I'm going to treat everyone with respect. I say, sir, ma'am to everybody. I don't care who it is. Everyone gets respect in my courtroom. It belongs to everyone. I know that. And that would be it. I mean, that's the person I want to emulate. I don't think it's changed my perspective. I think if anything, it's just given me an even better perspective of why I love this job and why I think it's a great job if you do it right. And I think our judges do. I think the judges in the seventh, colleagues, they've all got that same mentality.
Any other questions from any other members? Judge, our practice is at the end of the day, we will reach out and call you. Let me make sure I've got your cell phone. We'll reach out to you. I know how to get a hold of you. So we'll expect that to be around 5 o'clock.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all so much for your time. I appreciate it. And to any observers, thank you for your time as well.
Thank you.